Welcome. Today is the 3rd of March, 2021. I am Erilu Tuwashe. It's another episode of Agbakuni Tonile Odua, a Yoruba prayer which simply requests that elders shall be part and parcel of the lives of those of us who belong to Yoruba land. So it shall be. Those of you who have joined me, France, in Brazil, in the Caribbean, and of course in Europe, I thank you for always being out there. As usual, I've already started receiving questions from you. Thank you so much indeed. Today we continue the dialogue on British Nigeria pre and post independence. The focus of today, of course, is British Nigeria post-independence 1960. I'm delighted that I have been joined by a panel of special guests who represents an organization called Eminent Elders Forum. Consequently, the topic for today will focus on a document which they have prepared. And so our topic today is Eminent Elders Forum, Restructuring and 1963 Constitution of Nigeria. In the audience, I have, and I'm delighted to have Professor Salako, who at some point are bringing in to comment on our deliberations of today. I do hope all my guests are here. I can't identify you unless, of course, there's a name to your phone. I have 3 individuals. Let me just briefly talk about them. The first one is Dr. Akin Fakwoda, who is going to be the keynote guest speaker. He's a member of Afenifere 70-year-old organization that one cannot but give credit to our late sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He's also a member of Voice of Reason, Oduduwa Society, and a civil service retiree. Thank you very much for joining me today. Let me go straight on to my second guest, and that is, I hope I'm going to be able to pronounce the name well, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, a former deputy governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, a statesman, a political philosopher, I am told, and public intellectual. He's also an international consultant on economic development. He's another guest speaker of honor. And my third guest today, of course, is, again, I hope I'm going to be able to pronounce his name well, Professor Chukwuemeka Onukoagu. I'm sure Professor will soon set me right if I haven't done it well. A retired professor of English language, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, a former resident electoral commissioner, Independent National Electoral Commission, popularly known as INEC. So these 3 are members of the Eminent Elders Forum, and I'm hoping that Dr. Fakbonda will indicate that he's here, because I can't identify him. There are a few phones that are not named. In the meantime, let me take you through my Zoom area. I don't allow my Zoom area to be packed of people. Majority of those who need to be part of this are out there watching. I'm also joined by Liberty Media Communication, transmitting live. And on that platform, he'll be receiving comments and questions. Anyone who wants to send questions, comments to me, of course, +44 7405 365 994, so that I'll be able to share the thoughts at the right time. So I guess first and foremost, because of my professional background, this platform operates like a court. I have invited 3 guests to come and advance concrete evidence really, to be able to help us tune ourselves to the ongoing debate about the future of a country called Nigeria, but also popularly known as Project Nigeria. Earlier on this afternoon, somebody sent me a clip, and the clip, let me just remember the first few words. Now, this was somebody up north who said on the 6th of June 2017, a proclamation that, as far as they were concerned, the North unwilling to coexist with the Igbos. I'm sure we've heard it from the other side. So let's hope that this evening we'll get closer to whether it's going to be back to your tents or Israel, or we're going to be able to work together and keep the flag flying. Dr. Fakunda, have you joined us? Please indicate, because I can't identify you. There's no name attached to wherever you have logged in. Let me have a quick look. I can't see a Fakunda at all, and I can't see I cannot see the other 2. I'm afraid I always start my programs sharp on time. So where are the guests? No African time, maybe because I am English vis-a-vis British. So I don't start my programs late. I can't, for whatever reason, identify from the list in front of me in the Zoom area any of the 3-member panel of the Eminent Elders Forum. Again, as I said, welcome for joining me. Another few points, please. Once my guests commence their contribution, they cannot be interrupted. I will not stop to take any questions. Once they have tabled the matter, I will, of course, invite Professor Solomon Salako to comment on what has been said. There's a particular paper which was forwarded to me in advance, and that's also been thoroughly looked at by Professor Salako of the University of Hope in United Kingdom, a very well-experienced legal luminary, a professor of law. And if we go through the history of the legal luminaries of Nigeria, he will feature at the top level. It's a much cherished privilege to have you join us, Professor. Thank you very much indeed. So we are still waiting for the 3 guests. And if they are with us, maybe they want to indicate. I can't see any of them. I can't see the names on the list that are before me of those who have logged in. I'm so sorry that we'll have to wait for them. Hopefully they will join us soon. But whilst waiting, if there are any of you who wants to send questions in advance, given that thoughts already running through you, the number is +44 7405 365 994. You will find the same number on the login sheet that was sent to you through the network. Thank you very much once again for joining me. We'll have to wait because Dr. Fakunda isn't here, and his 2 colleagues are not here either. So please forgive me. Let's wait and see. I'm going to try and get in touch with them on the phone to find out what is happening. Please accept my apology. I'm going to try and call him. Trying to get hold of him. Right, okay. Right, okay. Let me try him again. I'm very sorry about the delay. Hello, we are waiting for you on the program. We are waiting for you on the program. It has started. Wow. I'm so sorry. I understand 2 minutes, 1 minute he's going to join us. It's really inappropriate for us who are highly educated to be, unfortunately, below standard of expectations when it comes to keeping time. Dr. Fakonda, welcome. You are already late. We've been waiting for you. Dr. Fakonda, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, Dr. Fakonda. Thank you. Your 2 colleagues are not here. Are you going to send message to them? They're not logged in. I can't identify them. My program always starts sharp on time, so we are waiting for you guests.
Let me call them.
Ẹ dákun ẹ bá ránṣẹ́ sáwọn tí ẹjọ́ fẹ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀.
Okay.
Please accept my apology. I normally start my program on time.
It's supposed to be on. It's supposed to be online now. And yes, so we want to start on the dot 6 o'clock exactly. So we have to be on at least 15, 20 minutes before the time. I'm already on anyway. I'm already on. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right.
Okay, Dr. Fakonda, I think you need to make a start without them. Hopefully they'll join you. I did introduce you before you logged in. Again, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. It's over to you now. Please take us through the following. First, Eminent Elders Forum. Who are they? Most of us don't know who they are. So if you can spend 5 minutes first telling us who the Eminent Elders Forum are before you get into the main topic of today. Over to you.
Can I share? I want to share my screen.
Sorry?
I'd like to be able to share my screen
First
with
of all, you need to increase the volume of your system because I can hardly hear you. I think I can hear you now. You want to share my screen?
Yes.
I wish I had been notified earlier, but I shall put you on.
Okay. While that is being done, good afternoon to all of you, my compatriots, all of you eminent Nigerians. I can see some known people from across the world, not just Nigeria alone. The Eminent Elders Forum, okay. Yes, let me share my screen.
Please go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so everybody can see it then. Eminent Elders Forum, we're about 350 now, cutting across the entire country. Most of us are people who have been in government, who are now out. Most of us are the average age about 60 years, and we are all accomplished in our own little respective ways. We formed a body, it's been registered by CAC. We are organized to think through Nigerian problems and then profile solutions. We've been meeting online most of the time because of COVID. And early this January, we met, we had about 2 weeks dedicated to talking about Nigerian issues, about Nigerian problems, and we came about some solutions. And I happen to be the secretary of the steering committee, and I was able to put ideas together in a document. The government in place has been saying, go to the National Assembly, go to the National Assembly, whatever you have. So we started to articulate our opinion. What the National Assembly is doing now is, in our own opinion, cosmetic, is panel beating, is amending 1999 Constitution. We happen to believe that structurally 1999 Constitution is deficient, and there's a better alternative which can be managed in a better way. So ideas are around working with 1963 Constitution. I will talk about it in my presentation. I will amplify our views, because people just, in this our country, we don't listen to each other at all. Even if we are in a meeting, before you say something, don't say, just, it's not going to work, it can't work. They will not let you finish to articulate your views. They just say it will not work. So people say, oh, 1963, you can't go back, you can't go back. We are not saying go back to 1963 Constitution, but we are saying move backwards and then start from there and then fast forward. If you put 1999 and 63 Constitution side by side, which one is easier to deal with if we didn't want to design a modern country? We said 1963 Constitution is a better option to work with, to amend. If you really want to panel beat, then it's easier to panel beat a good vehicle with a good engine than to panel beat a car that the crankshaft is gone. In fact, as a figure of speech, 1999 Constitution has no crankshaft, has no engine, because it's not organic. Nobody believes in it, seriously speaking. So let me just stop there so that I can take my presentation in an orderly way.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Fakunda. Please go straight to the main topic for today.
Okay. So you can see my screen. I like to speak to document rather than just talk off the cuff. Is the screen large enough? Can people read the text? Can you read the text, madam?
I can read it. Yes, thank you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so it's bold enough for you to read the text. I'll go over it slowly. I believe I have about 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
Well, you have 20 minutes, but if you must have 25, I will allow that. Over to you now.
Thank you very much. So We have action proposals for a restructured Nigeria by myself. We got to it for us to know where are we in Nigeria. Nigeria, as we know it, has really gone, has dissolved, whether we like it or not. In fact, in the last 1 week, with the blockade of food, blockade of everything, it has even gone worse. We are now split totally. Since 1966, apart from the Civil War, in fact, we are at the brink of another civil war now, as it was in 66. So if restructuring is inevitable, everybody must have to take responsibility for what it's supposed to have. It's not about if, it's when. The structure, the edifice of Nigeria is being demolished and is now a free for all. People are stopping trucks at Jeba. The Yorubas are meeting now to say, okay, we don't want food from the north again. We can feed ourselves. Maybe crude oil petrol will be stopped from the south too. So that's free fall. But by the way of definition, because many of us don't really appreciate the meaning of the words. Restructuring in terms of a physical building could be renovation, cosmetic, painting, structure intact. With partial demolition, remove the walls, remove the kitchen, but the structure outside still remains the same. It's restructuring. Total demolition, remove the entire debris and do a fresh design. That's still restructuring of a piece of land. That's my understanding of it. If you now go to human affairs, relationships, we can build wall between two people. You can have 0% relationship with somebody. You could have 50%. You could have 30%. That's restructuring to me. So the issue now is that, can you negotiate your relationship in a voluntary, civilized manner? I don't want to be with you anymore, but I will greet you good morning when I feel like. Or can we share bank account together? Can we own a house together? You can decide different levels of restructuring of how to relate with people. So what we are saying in the Eminent Elders Forum is that we must negotiate our relationship. It could be to zero. Everybody separate. But can we talk about it and agree on it? It could be halfway. Can we talk about it and agree on it? So people say, we don't want restructuring. We want no, restructuring is just civilized talking to define how you relate. So it's restructuring. Okay, let's go politics now. You could have 5 levels. I'm not a political scientist, but this is just common sense. 5 levels of political relationship. You can have unitary monarchy. You can have strong center with appendage federated units. That's what we have in Nigeria today. You could have, number 3, voluntary cooperation and collaboration, limited central government, decentralized control. To me, that's a proper federation. The 4th level, autonomous federating units, rotational leadership, common flag, common currency. To me, that's confederation. The 5th one, separate flag, self-determination, a republic. You can do the 3 by negotiation. You can also do it by unilateral action. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice. So that's what we are saying. We are saying, let us negotiate. Number 3, let's get a cooperative, voluntarily collaborate and develop together. Everybody free to do what he likes in his own territory. That's what we believe. So we have articulated this. We have done this now in a document submitted to National Assembly. It's been received. And we are making effort to engage them, to let them realize that amendment of constitution have been tried for since 1999. It's no longer what most people want in Nigeria again. And what we are proposing is very simple. A simple bill substitute 1999 with 1963 constitution, and then produce a procedure, a process for updating the 1963 constitution. Learning experiences that we have had to date. The document has been submitted. So what I'm doing now is to talk about what was in our document proposed to the National Assembly. The first part of the document justifies the need for urgent restructuring. Nigeria is bankrupt, we are indebted, we are spending money on bureaucracy. The senators, the House of Reps, 42 ministries, 36 government bureaucracies in the states, profligacy. When I did the exercise, there were 974 state assembly members. Many states have 30, they have 25, they have 28, all just there. They don't even come to work more than once a week. Even National Assembly, they come to work only twice a week too, and they are being paid in full. It's a waste. 773 local governments, they are not doing anything. So forget about politics. We don't have money to maintain the infrastructure that we have now as governors. If you are living in a 5-bedroom duplex and you have lost your job, you better move to a 2-bedroom bungalow and cut your losses. That's the premise of the argument presented to the National Assembly. Forget about politics, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, everything. We just don't have money to maintain Abuja again. We don't have it. What do we want? We want Nigeria to have a 2-tier structure. Regions that are self-governing, rotational leadership at the center, any power not given to the federal government or share concurrently is totally residual to the regions. A National Assembly that is unicameral, a parliamentary system. National Assembly that is having members equally from each of the regions. We want to nullify the effect of false population and fake constituencies. Just have, initially, let's have everybody just equal, maybe 5-5 from each region. Each region will elect its own member. There will be no national INEC again. Just send your 5 members to Abuja and pay your members your own salary from your own region. There is no money in Abuja to give it to any senator at all, or any house, or whatever it is. So the control compensation will be each region will nominate its people. Niger Delta might pay 1 million naira per month to its own people. Western region might say, look, we are not paying you a kobo. If you want to be a senator in Abuja, we can pay you, volunteer. That's how it's supposed to be. Each ethnic nationality will have its own territory, have its own constitution to suit its own way of life. Each region will have right to decide whether they want provinces, whether they want districts, whether they want local governments, because it's their duty. If you like, create 1,000 local governments in your area, but there is no oil money any longer. You are going to rely on IGR. So if you decide to use all your money in your region to pay salaries of politicians, that's left for you. Just pay the money you are supposed to pay to the federal government. That's all. Your funding, if you like, shrink. If you like, expand. No more oil money for anybody. Let the other people keep their oil money. Then each of the regions can match, can dematch, they can reconfigure. They have their own constitution in their own region to do what they like. And then in each of, many people don't even know these facts. Let me talk about it. In the 54 to 66 constitution of the regions, they were also unitary in nature. I give example of the Western region. We were only lucky to have an Awolowo to be the premier. If he wanted then, he could have put OAU in Ekene. He could have put Cocoa House in Shagamu. He could have put Liberty Stadium in wherever. Nobody would have challenged the premier then. The constitution then was also unitary. So we have to design a federal constitution now for the region too. Every person in the region must have the spirit of self-determination and control of resources. So if you go to Niger Delta, if Urobos have only 10 oil wells in their territory, the oil well belong to them. They should control it. If the Shekiris have only 2 oil wells, it should be their own. They should control it and pay graduated tax to the state, to the regional government and to federal government. So there should be federated constitution even in the regions, not unitary. So that people not say, oh, I don't want to go to Ibadan again. I don't want to go to Kaduna. I don't want to go to Enugu. No, you don't have to go there. You don't have to go there. The Jema people in southern Kaduna can be on their own, 100%, if they so decide. People say, oh, balkanization. A small unit of any territory can be on its own. In the United States, there is Delaware, there is Rhode Island, and there is California, and there is Texas. Everybody is living. So we can be 15 regions, we can be 20 regions, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is that there is no federal money to share. That's the bottom line. The exit clause. I give an example with the Kaba people. They might say, we want to join the Ekitis in Western region. But after 5 years, if they feel oppressed, they should be able to say, no, I'm not going with a colleague again. They give a notice, there will be a referendum. If it's carried, they pull out, they be on their own. They be on their own. There's not that you are just welded together forever. You know, you should have free choice. Let's open up the space for people to freely associate and freely aggregate. Next, the critical issue is legislative list. We now have 69. What we have here is just 10 for the federal government, just 10 exclusive. Of course, defense, external affairs, passport, aviation, banking regulations, they are all exclusive list. Concurrent, there are 14 items. Internal security, concurrent. Control of defense and security services, concurrent. Interregional coordination plans, concurrent. Like that, we want a lean federal government. Even in the regions, we want a lean government in the regions. We want a lean government in the region. Let the sub-regions have control over their resources and just operate like a cooperative club. Residual list, education, health, whatever it is, sports, housing, residual. That's what you are proposing. How do you bring this about? We say use 63 Constitution as a template. In a document, what is to be done to bring about 63 Constitution to date is also specified. It's a template. We are not saying just go back to 63 and go to sleep. We are not saying that. Why do we propose 63 Constitution? It is the only one that was based on consultations among the major leaders of Nigeria. Then it is focused primarily on relationship between the region and the federal government. The regions have control over their affairs.
5 more minutes, please.
Then everybody wanted to exist. And then, so the Eminent Elders Forum has put all the procedures for updating the 63 Constitution. New regions, new Nigeria. From the 3 regions to 4 regions, now 36 states. We want to collapse 36 states and start afresh. Now, a very important point. Military regime can just announce now we have 15 regions, but no, it can't be. Each people now should decide to be a region on their own, and it should be based on self-sustainability. No more crude oil. You maintain yourself. In my paper, which you might get later, all the people that can possibly be together. The Jaws can form their own region. The Gbagis can form their own region. You can use various factors. It's already in our document to do that. In the proposed Oduduwa region, which as an example, as a model, we produced a map of proposed Oduduwa region. Oduduwa region has to include, but not by force, Kaba area, Ofa area, Igbomin area, even Jeba. They are all mainly Yoruba speaking. But they will decide whether they will join Oduduwa region or not. It's not by force. But they speak Yoruba there and they have Yoruba culture. So if we are to do well, we are used to drawing federal constitution. We now need to draw regional constitutions. We've not been doing that before. So we need to have panels now that will help the regions draw their own constitution based on their own culture and their own way of life. And then, I'm coming to the end now. National Assembly does not possess our sovereignty. We own our sovereignty. They are to make laws. We are to make constitution. We put it clear to them that, look, make laws, but to make constitution is our own prerogative. Just enact a bill that will guide the process of change. And once the bill is passed, let the people proceed, have a transitional period of maybe 18 months, and then next election can come in. Finally, we are proposing that people should mobilize themselves. Let's see whether we can follow the process we already spelled out in our document. If we can finish it by 2022, then 2023 elections will be legitimate. But if we don't do what the other forum is proposing, I personally will question whether Nigerian government will be legitimate based on any election that is run and managed with 1999 Constitution. I thank everybody for listening to me. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you very much indeed. No questions, I'm afraid, until all my guests have submitted their evidence on the topic for today. May I invite Dr. Malaifa to share his thoughts as a member of the panel. Thank you so much, Dr. Fakunda. Delighted. Over to you, Dr. Malaifa. A warm welcome. I did introduce you whilst you were out of the Zoom area.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Well, sorry, just 1 second, please.
No problems. Professor Onukaugu, you will be the next. I also did introduce you before you joined us. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello? Oh.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. No problems.
Sorry, there was an interruption I had to deal with. I'm sorry about that. Well,
no problems.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness and Dr. Fakbohunda for convening this meeting. I think it's very important, very useful, and I've learned a lot just listening to Dr. Fakbohunda. He sent me the paper earlier. I was able to go through it. Well, this is supposed to be a very frank discussion, and we have to be frank and open to ourselves because our country right now is facing a very dire crisis. We need to be very sober, and we need to think clearly about the direction this country is going to and the direction we would prefer that it goes. Now, there are a number of issues. First of all, the return to 1963 Constitution. I'm a bit concerned about that because I've heard that statement before. Let's be realistic. I don't think the composition of the National Assembly at present is such that you can now table this kind of document and they will just read it and say, oh, fantastic, wonderful, and will simply gather themselves and pass a bill that will set aside a constitution on which they have profiteered so much to take one that has nothing in it for them personally. Politicians don't reason like that. In games theory, they are self-satisficing animals. I don't mean they're real animals, but they are there, first of all, to see what they can get for themselves. And so that's the way they reason. And unfortunately, that's the way the world is organized. So I don't think it is in conformity really with the reality of things on ground. That's number one. Now, Dr. Fakbohunda says that we should go back to the 1963 Constitution, precisely because, among other reasons that he gave, was that it was the most widely debated constitution based on the widest possible consultations. As a matter of fact, that is not quite the case. He's not necessarily a student of history of the social sciences. He is a computer scientist, and I respect him for being a great man in his field. But if you ask any constitutional expert, he will tell you that in fact the prize goes to the 1979 Constitution. There was a political bureau at one stage. From the political bureau, there was a constitution drafting committee chaired by Chief Rotimi Williams. From there was a constituent assembly, and the debates were rigorous. It shook the country to its very foundation before the constitution was finally passed. And of course, then there was an element of military fiat, because there were certain things that the Obasanjo administration simply took a red pen and cancelled out of the constitution. They used that prerogative for themselves. So if you are talking about the constitution in which there were the widest consultations, it's not necessarily the 1963 constitution. But there are other reasons why we think it's a very good constitution, the time it was. Number one, it gave a lot of regional autonomy to the regions, and that was a very good thing. Number two, it didn't create such a bloated governmental apparatus. There were fewer ministers, the government was parsimonious. We still had public orders. People who worked in the civil service knew what the financial orders were all about. They were rigorously enforced, even for premiers. If you were a premier or prime minister traveling, the financial order stated exactly how much extra code you were entitled to. You couldn't go a penny above it. And, things worked. And then thirdly, the competition among the regions was actually very healthy. In fairness, Chief Obafemi Awolowo did great for the Western region, free education and the rest of it. The North wanted to catch up. They set up Ahmadu Bello University. Eastern region did their best. They set up University of Nigeria. And so there was healthy competition, and that was really, it led to more accelerated growth. So that was really good. But we have to be very, very honest with ourselves. You can't sell a product that has gone past its sell-by date. We had crises from 1966, January, to 1967. We had civil war, precisely because the 1963 Constitution failed. It had some good points, which we all agree about, but it also had very fatal structural flaws that made it not to work, that made it totally unworkable. Several of them, and I think you're familiar with them. There was a great woman, professor of government and public administration at Oxford by the name of Dame Marjorie Perham. She described the 1963 Constitution as a tripod, that the whole thing was built on a tripod in which the primary forces were the North, which was an over-dominating power, the West, and the East. The Midwest came as a small appendage, basically to break Chief Obafemi Awolowo's influence. That was the purpose, not out of sympathy for the Midwestern peoples. So it was essentially a tripod. And the Marjorie Perham said that in geometry or in trigonometry, a tripod by definition is an unstable structure. And anything could tilt it one way and the whole apple cart will come down, which is what happened in January 1966. There was also conflict between the ceremonial president. Don't forget, we had a ceremonial president. We had a prime minister. And there was often conflict. There were serious conflicts between them. I mean, a lot of that has not been discussed because the constitution was partly ambiguous. You know, there were weak public institutions. You know, people didn't understand the concept of a constitutional opposition. It meant enemy. So Bafemi Awolowo, as far as the North were concerned, was an enemy, because that is, you know, somebody said that even in heaven, God doesn't tolerate opposition. That is why he sent down you know who. And so opposition meant enemy. And that is, and by the time, according to the great German political philosopher, when you define somebody as an enemy, Carl Schmitt is his name, you are no longer in dialogue in a democracy. You are in a state of war. So the 1963 Constitution had a lot of flaws. In fact, it had more problems than advantages. And that is why to simply say, oh, you bring it in and then work on it, no. My suggestion is that we need a brand new constitution. You know, Nigeria had an experience then. We've gone through the military imposed constitution of 79 and 1999. We've learned a lot. From there, we need a new constitution. Now, how is that going to be possible? I don't think it would be possible in the normal course of events unless there's a kind of a crisis that becomes so deep that it leads to a constitutional stalemate, and everybody now agrees that, well, you know, we need a new constitution. And I think we are approaching that situation, that scenario, in which some people have decided to put a blockade on food and cattle coming to the South. And that is a very dangerous and unprecedented step. And in the context in which killings, rapings, atrocities, you know, literally genocidal killings have been going on unabated. And then you mix it with this kind of blockade, then definitely we're heading towards a major crisis. Now, a major crisis can be a good thing. Somebody said we should never let a good crisis, you know, go without, you know, using it. And we might reach a situation where, in fact, we might be forced into a situation where there is now, we have to sit down and craft a new constitution altogether. Now, what are the elements of that constitution? Apart from these points, I agree with everything, almost everything that Dr. Fakuhunde has said, except we must avoid chaos. You know, when I can join a region today, after next year I change my mind, and then you join another region, that is a recipe for chaos. You don't run countries that way. You know, you have to be careful with that. But I agree with him that we need a regional basis. But I don't agree that it should be through some kind of rabble rousing that you create those regions. That, like we did with the Willings Constitution, unfortunately, the British were not honest enough with us, and they were not honest enough with themselves to do what was needed to be done at that time. We need a commission of wise men and women who will do consultations with all groups in the country, soberly, frankly, scientifically, and judiciously. And out of that, to propose regions and to submit it for referenda to the people of Nigeria. And so there will never be a perfect situation. Even Jeba that you mentioned, Jeba is about 50% Yoruba and 50% Nupe. And if the Nupe insist that they want to join another group, and then the Yoruba part of Jeba insists they want to join Odua Republic. What are you going to do? So, there will be adjustments that would have to be made, whether we like it or not. I propose, in the end, sir, we have a presidential system that has become a monstrous leviathan that is sucking the blood of our people. So we need what I call a semi-presidential system. And Maurice Duverger, distinguished French political philosopher, actually invented the term semi-presidential, where you have a kind of dual executive. You have the president, and then he appoints a prime minister, who then is empowered to appoint a cabinet. The cabinet, once appointed, is answerable to the executive president and is also answerable to the parliament. And parliament has powers to fire the prime minister and the whole cabinet if they are very unhappy with the way they are running the administration and the economy and the rest of it. But the president stands over and above, as a symbol of constitutional legitimacy and continuity of public administration. Number two, I don't agree that you can, I believe that we need a bicameral. I had thought we didn't need a bicameral system, but for the country of our size, we need a bicameral system still. But I'm not sure whether it needs to be full-time, to be honest. The second house perhaps doesn't need to be full-time. If we have the Senate, it should be purely part-time. But we need a house of a Congress that is full, that meets on full-time basis. Because if people are doing their work very well, legislation is not an easy matter. It is a full-time responsibility. And I don't agree that Odua region can pay or choose not to pay and so on. If you're working for the same country, the same government, then you have to treat people the same way. But of course, we have to build into the Constitution prevention of those kind of gross abuses that we've seen in the past. Maybe I'll stop here for now. Okay, thank you. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Obadiah Malafia. I hope I pronounced the name accurately. And thank you. I introduced you earlier on. You were Deputy Governor for Central Bank of Nigeria, a statesman, a political philosopher, and public intellectual. Of course, we also gather you are an international consultant on economic development. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join. Thank you. You will have another opportunity. If you've just joined me today, we continue on the topic of British Nigeria pre and post-independence. Today, we are looking at post-independence 1960. And thank you. It's not very easy for anyone to dare document pen to paper and spend time thinking to share thoughts. So we are looking at Eminent Elders Forum and their suggestion that restructuring and 1963, well, go back to 1963 Constitution of Nigeria is what we need. Well, some of us will argue that we've really got a constitution right now. Others will say we only have an instrument of government. Let me go straight on to Professor, and I hope I'm going to be able to pronounce your name well, and it's Professor Chukwuemeka Onukaugu. I hope I have pronounced it well. And I introduced you earlier on, a retired professor of English language, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, also former resident electoral commissioner for INEC. A warm welcome to you. Over to you now. Well, here we are. Will 1963 Constitution get us back to where we need to be? You have 15 minutes. Professor, are you with us? Professor, are you with us? You may unmute yourself.
Trying to do it.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this team that is making history in discussing the relevance of an appropriate constitution for our people in Nigeria. I want to say I appreciate the opportunity you've given to me. And let me start by saying that I am fully in support of our jettisoning the 1979 Constitution and the 1999 Constitution. Definitely both constitutions have laudable merits, and definitely both constitutions did a wide consultation before they were all adopted. But my stand is this: those who spearheaded this constitution were military men who had jettisoned their aspect of protecting the country and turned the guns around us. I think that all the military men who were involved in the post-1963 constitution should be arrested and severely dealt with. Even those who are dead, their corpses should be exhumed and desecrated. So my position is that no matter the merit in the 1979 Constitution and the merits in the 1999 Constitution, they are not the constitutions initiated by the generality or the whole of Nigeria. They were constitutions made under threat, blackmail, and intimidation. And even when the constitutions were finally made, the military had the final say. They took what they wanted to take, and they left what they felt was not necessary to uphold the military ideology. So for me, it's a no-go area. I therefore partially agree with Pakuhunda Akin, and I also agree with Obadiah in the sense that we need a new constitution that is extensively and intensively prepared by the people of Nigeria for the good of Nigerians without any military intervention. So if that is my basis, I want to simply draw attention to just about 4 areas where I feel there is a need for us to take a look from the 1963 Constitution. The first place I want us to look at is the issue of the regional marketing boards. In the 1963 Constitution, in spite of its flaws, the regional marketing boards were all over the 4 regions. You had the Northern Nigeria Marketing Board, the Eastern Nigeria Marketing Board, the Western Nigeria Marketing Board, and the Midwestern Nigeria Marketing Board. These boards took active steps in exploiting the resources in their respective regions, particularly the agricultural resources. For instance, in Northern Nigeria, groundnut was the order of the day. The groundnut pyramids were respected, highly treasured. We had ginger, we had hide and skins, we had shea butter, we had cotton. The cotton industry was extensive. So Northern Nigeria was able, through its marketing board, to generate enough money for its civil service and for the industrial development of the region. A similar thing happened in the West, where cocoa was the norm. In the Western Nigeria, it was cocoa and rubber. In the then Eastern Nigeria, it was cocoa, rubber, and palm oil. So what I want to say is that these regional marketing boards promoted healthy competition among the regions, and they were able to generate enough funds that made it possible for the regions to develop their education, their healthcare, their industrial base. But unfortunately for us, when these human beings in military uniform took over, in their 1979 constitution and in their 1999 constitution, they abolished the marketing boards, the regional marketing boards, and had nothing substantial or effective to replace them. They depended solely on sharing the oil revenue from the Niger Delta areas. And because of this, the steady decline of the economic manpower of the country started from there. So I want to suggest that whatever constitution we are going to make, we should make provision for marketing boards, whether at the state, whether at the regional level, so that every state or every region will be in a position to exploit its natural resources, develop it to its maximum capacity, pay rent to the federal government, and then use the resources from the marketing boards to develop themselves. Again, I want to draw attention to the issue of resource management. You find that in the 1963 Constitution, every region had authority over its resources. They exploited their resources, they tapped their resources, but then they paid tax to the federal government, and so used the resources to develop. Unfortunately, when these human beings called military men came into the scene, they abolished resource control. Let me cite two unfortunate instances. The resources, the crude oil resources in Delta, in Edo, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Imo, Abia, Benin, Edo, Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, were placed in the hands of the federal government. So these resources never belonged to these people. Whereas the gold in Zamfara, the gold in Ondo, the gold in Osun belong to the respective state. That's unfair. And it's exploiting Peter to pay Paul. Because of this tendency, all the states in the country literally fold their hands. They are waiting for the oil revenue to be shared. And every month they go to Abuja to take money that has been sourced from the Niger Delta area. Unfortunately, the crude oil is losing its value. And with the tendency for industries to go for electricity, I feel that very, very soon there'll be no money coming out of crude oil. So what I want to suggest, in whatever constitution we agree, there has to be the consensus that the resources in those areas should belong to the owners. They should be allowed to develop their natural resources. They should use them. For instance, in Ebonyi, lead and zinc should be developed by the Ebonyi state people. They pay taxes and use the rest. So that is very fundamental. Unless
can you shut the door? I don't want to. Can you shut the door, please?
I need the money.
Are you hearing me?
What?
The money.
Which money?
Am I continuing? Are you hearing me?
I don't know. Just shut the door for me.
Hello?
This was not the money.
Go ahead.
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. We are hearing you.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I thought I was being there. There are two other areas. I am also suggesting that development corporations should be integral, should be fundamental in any constitution we're developing. Let me give you two examples. We had the Eastern Nigeria Development Corporation. We had the Western Nigeria Development Corporation. The foresight the Western Nigeria Development Corporation had was what led to our establishing the Liberty Stadium, which was a masterpiece in Africa. And as a matter of fact, the first television station in Africa was as a result of the efforts of the Western Nigeria Development Corporation. Besides, Western Nigeria.
I apologize. Professor, please unmute yourself. Someone being disorderly has led me to mute everybody. Please unmute yourself, Professor. Thank you.
Are you hearing me now?
Now I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, fine. I'm so okay. Let me repeat what I had said earlier.
Thank
I
you.
am saying that development corporations should be an integral part of any constitution we make. In the former 1966 constitution, we had Western Nigeria Development Corporation, Eastern Nigeria Development Corporation, Northern Nigeria Development Corporation, and Midwestern Nigeria Development Corporation. These corporations went for the best man and the most talented human beings on earth to develop to enhance the development of the respective regions. For instance, in Western Nigeria, the Liberty Stadium was a showpiece in Africa. It was the first of its kind. And in Western Nigeria, we had the television, Western Nigeria Television Service. We had television in Western Nigeria before Canada. Right now, in the 1979, 1999 Constitution, there are no provisions for development cooperation because the tendency is that the federal government has taken up every other thing. And because the federal government has done this, there's no competition. So I feel that when we finally agree to develop a constitution that will lead to our needs and expectations, there should be an integral part of a regional, of each region or each state having a development cooperation. The federal government may give incentive, the federal government may encourage, but the federal government should not step in to take over the development of the individual state. The federal government should concern itself and leave residual development to the respective states to take over. If we do this, it will then be important for us to have healthy competition among the various states. Before 1966, there was water supply in the rural areas of Nigeria. In Abia State, for instance, in my village in 1962, there was water supply. My village is 10 kilometers from the town. We had water supply before the war. We had electricity in the village before the war. Same thing in Benin areas, same thing in Western Nigeria. And I think similar things happened in Northern Nigeria. Unfortunately, when these human beings imposed on us the 1979, 1999 Constitution, they did not make for provisions to allow us on our individual basis develop what we want, what we feel is best for us. Because the water development scheme in my area, all of us who were working contributed to that. Now the federal government said it's responsible, and yet we are not having water to drink. So I feel that development cooperation should be part and parcel of the Constitution, and each region or state should be given free hand to source for money, to source for manpower, to develop its base to the way it likes most. Again, there is the need also for us to look at the educational base. You find that while Western Nigeria gave the lead in supplying free education, Eastern Nigeria tried, but because of the fall in oil palm prices in the world, I think in 1958, they were not able to continue. But Northern Nigeria has something more specific. Not only were children encouraged to go to school, they were given incentive to stay at school. So if that need to develop education at the state level, each state is allowed to source for resources, to source for manpower, to develop its education per se, to fit its needs, then there'll be no need for us to be saying, oh, federal character in education. No, let us invest our time. Let us invest our resources. Let us collaborate with one another to ensuring that in every state, education is given the primary status is given. Now, the federal government says setting aside 3% of the national revenue for education. in the end it's not being given. They tell you of matching grants. There are many states in the north that have not been able to take their quota of the 3% because they don't have the matching resources. Similarly in the south. So what I want to say is that let us be giving free hand to develop education to suit our taste. And when the people begin to see the impact of education, I feel things will begin to change. Let me pause here. I will talk about freedom of speech, and I will talk about security as we progress. Thank you, Eleru, for giving us the opportunity.
No problem. Thank you very much indeed. If you've just joined us, a warm welcome. Let me borrow a page from Dr. Malaifa's submission. Let's begin to talk the truth. Now, I have listened to you, and evidence I have heard from you so far hasn't addressed the following. Biafra exists now, whether people want it or not. They've been wanting to get out of this project, if you don't mind my saying so, for a long time. Will this restructuring facilitate retention if they don't want to remain? And alongside that, let's talk the truth. It seems to be international, if you like, call it propaganda, that the Easterners, the Igbos, are not wanted to become president of Nigeria. Will 1963 Constitution return to it resolve the problem? It is also known right now that there seems to be a way of courts, certain inhabitants of the project called Fulani, taking over people's land, the whole of area, Katsina, Soto. Let me be quite specific. It seems the Fulanis have taken over and held the Hausas in captivity. It also seems that Middle Belt, kind of just area, the Christians have no peace. There seems to be the issue. I'm looking at the list, Islamization, the pressure of Islamization. Many argue that even a lot of the descendants of Oduduwa, they are wearing Muslims now, just to be able to win elections. All have to, if you are not Muslim, you can't get anywhere. Let me go straight to Lagos. People argue the whole of Lagos is dominated by the Muslims. I'm advancing evidence I've received. So whatever we're talking about today, 1963 Constitution and the paper presented by Dr. Fagbowomda and the members of the Eminent Elders Forum will return to 1963 Constitution, address the fact that Igbos want to get out. They want to get out. So many of them have been killed so far. Boko Haram, I think Boko Haram means no Western education wanted. Now, that's going on. Kidnapping going on. The government paying huge sums of money. These are the current problems we have got. So let me go now to Professor Solomon Salako. I'm going to invite him to set the scene, first to introduce himself, and also to address Dr. Fagbowomda's paper presented on behalf of the Eminent Elders Forum. Over to you, Professor Salako.
Thank you very much, Erelu. Ladies and gentlemen, I've listened attentively to the presentations, but I want to start with an introduction. First, a reflection on what I've heard so far. First, we have a paper on restructuring presented by Dr. Fagbowomda. Again, we have a presentation by Dr. Malaifa suggesting drafting of a new constitution and mooting the idea of semi-presidential system. Again, we have the presentation of Dr. Onukaugu. However, we've not heard anything about the constitutional system. And it is rather surprising that we choose 1963, or they choose 1963 as the starting point. Now, before I go on, let me introduce myself. I'm Professor Solomon Salako. I'm an elder myself because I'm 75 years old. I'm a professor of law, and I'm still a professor of law here at Liverpool Hope University. And I'm a constitutional expert. What I've not had are the constitutional theories, constitutional history of Nigeria, which is very important. The problem we are experiencing now could be traced to the British. It started prior to 1960, prior to independence. Now, we need to consider all these constitutional systems. Federalism, confederation, will it work in a multi-ethnic society? In fact, the British deliberately handed over power and the army to the north. Now, let me consider all this. And there is a sweeping generalization. The elders of the Yoruba, the Yorubas of Western region, unequivocally say yes to the first question. Now, I will address that. Now, let me start with restructuring, and I will address other issues. I've had the privilege of perusing the paper entitled Fundamental Proposals for a Reconfigured Nigeria by Dr. Akin Faponda, presented at the National Restructure Actualization Summit at Abuja on 25th February 2021. This paper bristles with practical constitutional problems. Again, to me, it lacks the merit of candor. Most of the Yorubas want to live now just like the Igbos. But we seem to be going back on this federalism. Now, let me consider that very well from a constitutional perspective. I've been a lawyer for 42 years. I've been reflecting on this matter for almost 42 years. Now, what do we mean by the concept of restructuring? In fact, Dr. Fapu explained that for us. He said the concept of restructuring is that the territory of Nigeria must be reconfigured for the ethnic nationalities to aggregate or disaggregate based on an agreement voluntarily and democratically reached to form a new federal constitution. A federal constitution is a multi-ethnic polity where the Hausa Fulani believe that they have the divine right to dominate the whole country. To a constitutional theorist, that is a very sweeping presentation to present to anybody. So there are two objections to restructuring and two objections to federalism, whether it's of the 1963 variation or 1960 or 1979, or what is not even a constitutional stricto sensu, the 1999 constitution. Because we can apply, we the people of Nigeria, give unto ourselves this constitution. Now, let me start with the empirical and the principled objections. Let me start first with the empirical objection. Dr. Faponda posed two rhetorical questions. And he drew strength from late Chief Bola Ige, a seasoned lawyer. And the questions are, shall we live together? As a lawyer, I feel this is a leading question. Now, how do we live together? The question should be, what is the future of the Yoruba in Nigeria? That should be the question. What is the future? What is the future of the Igbo in Nigeria? That should be the question we should ask. He answered the first question in the affirmative. He said that the Yorubas of Western Nigeria unequivocally, let me quote it, say yes to the first question. I'm an elder myself, and at a gunpoint, I will say no to that. Why? We shouldn't sleepwalk again into any federal system. And as a constitutional expert, I want to state why we shouldn't sleepwalk. It's a somnambulist approach to solving constitutional problems. So the question two, how do we live together, he said, in looking for the framework for continued coexistence. The key word there, the operative word, is coexistence. The answer was the 1999 Constitution is not working. And he continued, it is better to replace it forthwith. What is wrong with the constitutions from 1960 to 1999? What is wrong with them? Until we'll address that problem, we cannot move forward. And that's what I want to address now. The answer to question one is not the view of majority of the Yorubas, both in Nigeria and in diaspora. I'm aware that there are 2.4 million Nigerians in the United Kingdom. There are 2.6 million Nigerians in the United States of America. And there are at least 2 million Nigerians because most of my cousins live in Canada. Now, let us look at these constitutional types. Let's take first federalism and how we sleepwalked into federalism. At the 1958 Constitutional Conference in London, the premiers of Western and Eastern regions believed, as the British Secretary of State for Colonies has intimated, that the creation of more states should redress the balance between the North and the South. Hausa-dominated Northern region opted for confederation with power to secede, while the Western region opted for classical federalism, the type we have in America, with strict separation of powers, that is, keeping the three organs of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, in three watertight compartments. And that's what is meant by classical federalism. The Hausas dominated Northern region opted for confederation with power to secede, while the Western region opted for classical federalism and Eastern region for quasi-federalism, a sort of commonwealth of nations. That was what Zeke called it in one of his pamphlets. The Secretary of State for the Colonies indicated that if the demand for more states was insisted upon either before or after the election in 1959, the British government had no alternative but to postpone the election. Professor Chua Elias, who later became president of the International Court of Justice, reiterated that the Southerners, when they realized that more states were not created, agreed to confederation with power to secede. But this was rejected by the British government. For that, see Chua Elias, Nigeria, development of its laws and constitution. London, Stevens, 1967, chapter 1. Had the Southerners realized that federalism in a multi-ethnic society with a region like the North, which could override the South, could produce a winner-takes-all situation where losers become hostages to the winning faction, they would have opted for confederation with power to succeed ab initio. The imbalance between the North and the South was written by the British government into the 1960 Independence Constitution and became a permanent feature of the 1963 Constitution and the 1979 Constitution. The 1999 Constitution is not a constitution, stricto sensu, because it is not autochthonous. We cannot call it, we the people give unto ourselves this constitution after sitting at a concrete consultative assembly. Now, I want to consider first the problems with federalism, then the problems with confederation, because what some of the past speakers said, especially Dr. Fakonda, looks like confederation, a weak center and very strong regions. Now let me deal with federalism. What are the problems with federalism? One, federalism is prone to a winner-takes-all government. Two, the politics of confrontation makes a mockery of federalism in Nigeria. Three, since independence on 1st October 1960, Nigeria has experienced a total of 29 years of military rule out of 60 years. 1966 to 1979 and 1984 to 1998, 29 years in total. Four, northern politicians do not respect or allow the principles of federalism to flourish because of the policies of confrontation and the ineffectiveness of constitutionalism. That is, the principle that the limitation of arbitrary powers can be embodied in an enacted constitution by laws alone. No matter the constitution you write, they will not follow them because they believe they have a divine right to rule you. That's all. And they were made to believe in this by the British, the way the North was partitioned, the way Nigeria was partitioned. If they
5 more minutes, Professor, because you'll be able to come back again if you can. 5 more minutes. Thank you.
Okay. And 5. It will not work because of the stranglehold the Hausa Fulani have on Nigerian armed forces and the politicization of the armed forces. Now, what is my conclusion, therefore? Federalism has failed in Nigeria for the reasons I've instantiated above. If the goal of the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination is internal self-determination, then all options, including the 3 nations constituting the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is the Yoruba, the Hausa Fulani, and the Igbo, going their separate ways, that is, secession or partitioning, must be discussed. The Yoruba and the Igbo can exercise their right to internal self-determination under customary international law to choose their own political and economic future. That is not treason, as President Buhari and his advisors are alleging. In fact, I can send him a paper to show that, well, if he tests that, you will see that, well, it is seriously flawed. Nicola Sturgeon is clamoring for the independence of Scotland. They've held a referendum once. They didn't have the majority. Clamoring for it.
I'm going to stop it there for now, Professor.
Please give me some 2 minutes, just to tie up the loose ends.
Thank you. The
Yoruba and the Igbo can exercise their right to internal self-determination under international law to choose their own political and economic future. Nigeria, like former Sudan, could be partitioned into viable independent states after a referendum in which the Yoruba and the Igbo, each voting separately, decide by a majority to leave the federation. Unlike external self-determination for colonial peoples, which ceases to exist on independence, the people's right to internal self-determination is not extinguished. It is a continuing right. That is my humble summary.
Thank you. Please. I want to please mute yourself. Please mute yourself or exit the Zoom area. Right. I want to thank you. Professor, I'm going to sort of mute everybody for now so that I can only let whoever wants to speak. I think it's so disrespectful and rude. Right. Please, if you want to speak, you may unmute yourself. My ground rules are very clear. If you want to be noisy, I beg of you, leave the Zoom area because there's a system that can remove you from the Zoom area. You won't be able to get back in. Now, let me thank you, Professor, very, very much indeed for your contribution. Let me go straight on to Dr. Akin Awofolaju, who did raise his hand. Before you answer, I want us to be focused. Today, we've had Dr. Akin Fakunda presented his point of view on behalf of the Eminent Elders Forum, and it seems to be Nigeria shall remain. Nigeria shall remain. Let's go back to 1963 Constitution and all will be well. But what everybody seems to have the impression of worldwide is everyone at certain corners of Nigeria are loudly saying, let everybody just go their way. So it's very important to bring to the forefront the reality. The reality is the Biafrans have been wanting to go for a long time. The Yorubas right now are been clamoring for exit as well. Over to you, Dr. Akin Awofolaju. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Thank you. You need to unmute yourself. You still haven't unmute yourself. Dr. Awofolaju, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself. This is why I try not to mute everybody. Please unmute yourself. Wow, we still can't hear you. Let me try from this.
He has unmuted himself.
Well, let me try from my end. Let me try. Please mute yourself back, whoever was speaking. Thank you. Let me try and see if I can bring you back. Well, I'm afraid you're mute here. Dr. Fok, maybe the volume. You are on mute here. The volume. Okay, whilst he's trying to sort that out, the volume. Yes? Welcome. Hello. If you have earpiece, remove. Remove if you have earpiece. Hey. Remove the earpiece if you have. No, we are not getting anywhere. I'm so sorry, I'll bring you back. Let me go straight on to the next person. Femi Odetei has joined us. A very warm welcome to you. Over to you. Dr. Awofolaju, I will try again. Well, you are also unmuted here. You are also unmuted here. So there's something with your system. Femi Odetei, over to you. You have 5 minutes. Followed by Alache Ode. Hello, Mr. Odetei.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yes, yeah, thank you for this opportunity, and I will be brief, although a little bit comprehensive. So I will combine the 1963 Constitution by Fakunda and then Professor Salako. The first thing I want to say is that the whole concept and the whole question of restructuring or whatever we call it, federalism or whatever, is a political question. It's not just a legal question. Yes, there are certain legal things that need to be done, but it's essentially a political question, which means those who are clamoring for it or those who are working on it must understand the political context through which all these things are playing out. Now, of course, the 1963 Constitution, with due respect to Dr. Fakunda, that was one of the 63 Constitution was promulgated principally because of Awolowo. We used to have the appeal court in the Western region, that where the appeal from the Western region lies to the Privy Council in London, which was what Awolowo did after his conviction. But the Privy Council had already ruled in favor of Awolowo. And in order for the MPC, NCNC alliance to make sure that they put Awolowo in jail, they rushed through the 1963 Constitution, created the Supreme Court, which ended up putting Awolowo in jail, and then abolished the Privy Council, and then turned Zik into what they call the ceremonial presidency. That's one. Two, the 1963 Constitution also allowed the governors, the premiers of the regions, to appeal to the prime minister to sack a regional government. That was what Akintola used to appeal to Balewa to sack the action group government in the Western region. So that is the political context under which the 1963 Constitution was instituted. So by that alone, I mean, aside from other reasons, going back or even using it as an example is a no go. Now, quickly, because I'm also mindful of the time, the whole concept of restructuring and all these things, essentially it started in the 1990s, especially during the anti-Abacha struggles. And it was essentially an Afenifere slogan at that time. Before Afenifere used it as a slogan, the Akaba Shoruns and all the rest of them, Bekor and Sonkuti, they were talking about the Sovereign National Conference, where all the nationalities and everybody will gather and do this and do that. So restructuring is a terminology. It's not an end in itself. Of course, those who don't want any change in Nigeria have now appropriated the term. That's why you will find some people that will say, we need restructuring of the mind. We need restructuring of the economy. They are just messing it up. But essentially what everybody is saying is that Nigeria is not working for anybody. Now, do we want to make Nigeria work? It's a political question. Do we want to separate from Nigeria? It's a political question. So the first thing that we need to address is who are the Nigerians? Who are the constituent parts of Nigeria? So it is only them that can determine whether they want Nigeria, especially now that the British are no longer, directly involved in what we do. Yeah, okay. So the first question is, who are the constituents? And we say the nationalities are the constituents. And it is incumbent on every of the nationalities to determine for themselves what they want. Part of it is, even if we have independent countries, we are still going to share borders with each other. Abi, we are still going to share borders. So there must be a way to determine how do we share borders with the Igbo or with the Middle Belt or with anybody. So the whole concept of sovereignty, independence, we are living, we are not living, we are this and that, has to be looked at from within that context. So it's not just a question of whether we want Nigeria or we don't want Nigeria. It's a question of what is our relationship with our borders. Otherwise, we will create a country that will be at war with their neighbors permanently if we don't look at it from that. So that's my general.
Thank you. Can I stop you for a moment? Dr. Awofalaju, exit the log out and come back in. Dr. Awofalaju, exit and come back in. You may get it right. Okay. Exit and come back in. Dr. Awufolaju, exit and come back in. That may help you.
Okay. So quickly,
Now you got
as
1 minute.
Yes, or just even less than that. As a consequence of what I have rushed through, we of the Yoruba Referendum Committee, we have started a process where there will be a Yoruba referendum on what we want to do, and we have started organizing petitions around it too, so that our leaders will organize the referendum among ourselves as to where we want to go. So we have put that in place, and we expect other nationalities in the Middle Belt, the Igbo, and all the rest. Let them do the whole thing. That is how we get our sovereignty, because the sovereignty resides in the people. It's not just a legal document. It's the expression of the power of the people.
Thank you. I need to end it there. I will now.
Yes.
Alachiode, thank you so much, Mr. Femi Odedeji. Alachiode, you raised your hand before. You're no longer there. I've got a professor, Dr. E. Kola, last name I don't know.
Ogundawale.
Please, over to you.
Ogundawale is the last name.
Thank you. Please, over to you, Professor, and a warm welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much, Irelu. I've listened to some. I didn't start from beginning, but I'm sufficiently informed about what's happening in Nigeria. But we all seem to have forgotten that the people are the major focus and should be the major focus here. The Yoruba, the Tiv, and so on and so forth. I have all the names, but there's no time going through that. The major issue we should focus on is that Nigeria was not there, was never there, and will never continue to be. The reasons are clear. Historically, this was an amalgam created by the colonial imperialists. That was the period of empire building in history of mankind. Since about 4 decades from now, from 1990s, we've noticed the second stage of historical development of mankind, whereby individual nationality, individual nation secedes from a multi-cultural society in order to be themselves, maintain their history, maintain their culture, maintain their language, and contribute effectively to the development of mankind. That has been the trend since the disappearance of USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, Yugoslavia, and so on and so forth. There have been more than about 40 new nations since then. So you see, we are taking Nigeria as given by God? Of course, no. This was an amalgam created, and at that level of development at that time, social political consciousness was very low. People were happy to say, oh, they have a country. But now awareness has been developing, particularly with the emergence of Babangida's nullification of June 12, 1993 election. And with the emergence of Buhari, who seemed to be leading the crusade of taking over the whole territory for a particular nationality, the Fulani. There is no need to keep silence about this.
Professor,
yes.
Can I make this quite clear to you? The point you have made has been clearly made.
Yes.
And because I have a number of people to contribute.
Oh, sorry. And let me just conclude here. right? So the issue we face now should be the self-retrieval of individual nationality, self-retrieval. So this grouping together of zones, geographical zones, have no meaning in present-day social political development of mankind. The Yoruba is what we want. It wants to establish itself, which Nigeria tried to annihilate. When you say you are Yoruba, they say, look, you are a tribalist. It's to shut you up, to erase Yoruba from the surface of human history, to erase Tiv from the surface of human history, and turn everybody to a kind of Akudaya, a pre-term person who is not Yoruba, who is not English.
Professor, let me thank you for your contribution, Professor Dr. Kola Ogundawale. Thank you very much. Ogundawale, thank you. We the quote British, me sitting in the seat of the British, I will say now that we call it Nigerianization. The attempt to Nigerianize, and that means the identity of everyone is almost forgotten. We also use the word, please, sir, I will have to mute you. I don't want any exchange with the disrespect. One is very clear. If it's not Nigerianization, it's what we call integration. Now, let me go straight on to Alache Ode. Over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Very well. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am very grateful to be alive, to be here today. I'm a victim of the Nigeria that is not working. I had to come here for cancer treatment, but that is not the issue. Nigeria is bigger than any one of us. My contribution is actually very, very poignant. One, the assumption, and I hope I'm one of the women who will be allowed to talk. We are very, very emotional about the concept of Nigeria. I have seen and heard so many people reliving the past and historical ologies. Yes, if you don't know where you are coming from, you don't know where you are going to. However, too much academization of the concept of Nigeria and Nigerianness has not helped. We are talking of people who are poverty-stricken, who are sick, who are dying, and you bring your academic excursion into that concept. It does not work. And that is why Nigeria has not worked. Because the practical terms, I will give you an example. I come from the Middle Belt, Benue State to be precise, which has been one of the states that has been inflicted mostly by the Fulani incursion. But I go to other forum, not your own, and people lump me as a northerner. We are either northerner, easterner, or westerner. And that is not true. In the north, we are so divided in terms of linguistics, in terms of religion, in terms of culture, and so much so that we are so frightened of a Nigeria that is divided along the three so-called major ethnic nationalities. These nationalities continue and still continue to look at Nigeria as if it is their own God-given right. It is not only the Hausa Fulani, the Yorubas and the Igbos. They think Nigeria is their own God-given right. We, the minorities, haven't got a voice, and we are tired of being voiceless. Nobody consults with us. You consult with Oduduwa, Afenifere. You consult with Biafra, Ohaneze. You consult with Arewa. What about us, the minority groups? Have you people thought about when you people are fighting your battle? The theater of war is the Middle Belt. You will meet at our Middle Belt and kill us. We do not want this so-called restructure that is based on the tripod of Nigeria. That tripod is not real. That tripod is a fallacy. That tripod is a facade. And until you people begin to respect other ethnic groups, once in a while I hear people chucking in the word TV, ethnic, TV. No, there are more than 300 ethnic groups and we have not sat down to discuss. That's number one. Number two, I just like you people to think twice. We have had a Nigeria that has not worked. The states are even worse. And the local governments that are supposed to be closest to the people are not working. If you restructure and put it in the hands of a few people, it will still not work. The Yorubas will start saying the Owu people, the Jabu people, the Rema people. We must be able to sit down and devise something that works. I don't care if it is a breakup, but it must work for everyone. You see, we keep on sitting down. There are millions of Nigerians that don't even have access to health, access to food, access to shelter, access to basic needs. And here we are. We have not even looked at it within our own localities. We are busy looking at I'm a lawyer of 45 years. So what? It does not bring food to the table of the poor people. I have been in this game. I worked with VSO. I've been working with poor communities that have no access. I've been working in over 35 countries in the whole essence of development, and it has not worked. What works, even if it is not the Nigeria today? What will work is my question.
On that note, I want to thank you for your contribution, whilst apologizing to Professor Salako, the remark about 45 years or 40. What this program seeks to do is to facilitate on quality understanding of all the issues. The paper presented today, Alache, if you set your eyes on them, I think you'll probably say, thank God we've got Professor here, because I didn't pay him. I was sent a paper, many pages of it.
No, I apologize to him. It's not about him. Please, I apologize. I apologize, Professor. I'm not insulting you. Please, I apologize. As a junior to you, in my culture, I put my hand on the ground and I apologize.
Thank you very much, Alache. If you kindly mute yourself back so that I can go to the speaker. Thank you. And you have actually advanced very important points. On this program, I actually have to strike a balance, enabling factual, truthful appraisal. Alache, I think you recall the days when we used to have the battle with the Nigerian National Union. All kind of issues used to surface. Nice to hear your voice again. The most important thing is that we are faced with a project. That project is Project Great Britain. And whilst when I listen to people say Nigeria isn't working, I have issues, and that's the next question I want to pose to somebody. Dr. Malavia, are you there? Doctor, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
It's you I want to put this question to.
Okay.
On behalf of a number of people by the question. Can I ask you, are the the leaders, the political leaders, are they deaf? Are they not hearing that people are saying Nigeria is not working? That's one question. And can you explain to me the rationale behind unity of Nigeria is not negotiable? Over to you. Unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. I asked that question because I can understand perhaps Dr. Fakpomuda's position, because each time anybody tries to suggest let the whole thing fall apart, you hear we have to stay together. We have to stay together. UK has just removed herself from Europe. So, Doctor, please, unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. Are the political leaders deaf that Nigeria is not working?
Anyway, thank you, Your Royal Highness, Erelu. You asked me a couple of questions. One of them is whether our leaders are deaf.
Yes.
I have to be honest and truthful here. They're actually very, very deaf. They really don't care about you or me. In fact, a senator once said in a debate, when somebody was mentioning that we should think about the future of our children, he said, to hell with the future of our children. We suffered and we're here. When their time comes, let them deal with it. He actually said that. So these are people that are very deaf, and they're enjoying the perquisites of power. And so because of that, they don't really feel it. They don't really care. Of course, this is a generalized statement. There are still a couple who really do care. But unfortunately, they're among the minorities. They are not among the majority. Now, whether the unity of our country is negotiable or not negotiable. Well, you know, I may not be popular here, but I remain a patriotic Nigerian. Not because I'm not aware of the terrible and catastrophic realities of the moment, but I don't think that God makes mistakes. It was Albert Einstein who said that God does not play dice with the universe. Of course, he was thinking from the viewpoint of quantum physics. But his observation actually applies to the Nigerian situation. And if you talk to our greatest historians, from the late Ade Ajayi to Tekena Tamuno, Afido, Bala Usman, Kenneth Dike, they will tell you that Nigeria was already in a process of state formation before even the British arrived. This state formation was through war and conquest, and through trade and commercial relations, through diplomacy, and through even cultural interconnections. If you look at the Yoruba, and there are links with the Middle Belt, for example, when an Ifa priest wants to go deep, okay, he wants to go so deep that he reaches the highest mystical level, he switches to a language that most Yorubas will not understand. And in fact, only linguists were able to discover recently that that is ancient Nupe language that the Ifa priest resorts to. That tells you there is a very strong link. And I give you many examples. The Iris spirituality of Igbo land has its roots among the Igala. And until today, when an Igbo priest wants to do something extremely important, he must consult the altar of Igala. That has been there since ancient times. And I can mention several examples. And look, even if, for example, we have Oduwa today as a republic, it doesn't mean that the contradictions in Yoruba land will be over. I have a friend who is from the palace of Alake. I won't mention his name, he's a prominent Nigerian. We're very good friends. And in one of those light-hearted moments of his, he said, look, I have to be very honest with you. You know, you are my friend, so I must be very honest. You know, forget about these Yoruba people. Yoruba, it's neither here nor there. Egba is the center of everything. Because Egba means all the people coming together. Don't forget, in the 19th century, you fought terrible wars, the Kiriji Wars.
Of course.
There was Naurena Kakamfo, who was so brutal. He was so disappointed when the Kiriji Wars ended. For 7 years, he went about looking for war. There was no war. He came back and killed all his countrymen because he needed to fight a war anyway. It's actually documented. So it doesn't mean that even if you have Oduwa Republic, the problems and the contradictions, you should thank God that there was a man like Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And he's my greatest hero, by the way, which was not common for people from the North and the Middle Belt, but he's been my hero since my childhood. You were lucky to have him. He was not just a man, he was an Orisha. And this man saw far ahead and could actually take the right policies to develop Yoruba land. Some of the leaders that you have today, give them that chance and they will rape the whole land blind. So does Nigeria have a future? I think that before we give up, let us try what can work. And I like what Ms. Alache said. Let's try what can work and let's be very practical. Nobody owes us a living. If at the end we have tried and we could not save our country from the jaws of catastrophe, then God knows we have tried. But we should not just lay back and despair. We must try, and if it doesn't succeed...
May I interrupt, Dr. Malifia?
Thank you.
I want to hold you responsible just for a moment. Let's try. Yes, let's try what can work. Why are we not actually listening to people who are saying maybe we should have a divorce? Now, I always argue that Nigeria is actually in a polygamous relationship, many wives. Why can't we try this referendum?
Sure.
And while asking that question, I also want you to address this ethnic nationalities conference that took place. So much money spent during former President Goodluck Jonathan's time. The ethnic, I think that was the first in my life I would see people of Nigeria got together to negotiate. Let's go back to that. Do you know what happened to all the documents that people produced of agreements as to where these all ethnic nationalities wanted to go to? What happened to all of that?
Well, you see, unfortunately, I think Goodluck himself was a rather weak leader. He couldn't have spent billions setting up this confab. And then once all the documents had been produced, he just lamely lay back and say, okay, I'm going to hand it over to my successor. Let him do what he would do with it. And of course, the successor came. And for the first time, by the way, the Middle Belt and the South worked together. And the core North, the Sharia North, were extremely bitter, extremely bitter. They were just hoping and praying that Goodluck would not implement this thing. And of course, he fell for the trap. Immediately, Major General Muhammadu Buhari came in, he simply threw the thing into the garbage can, into the garbage, pit. And that was the reality. He was so happy to be able to throw it out. And that has been the end of it. Well, you mentioned divorce. Divorce is not necessarily a good thing,
You're right.
but we can never say never, especially when the couple have become so alienated that each one is trying to find a way to kill the other. Then I think counselors at that point will say, look, let's save these people from themselves.
Yes.
And I think, but you see, my belief is that God, who doesn't make mistake, didn't make mistake in putting all our multifarious people together. And I tell people that God is doing a great experiment. He wants to find out what out of these multitudinous groups, whether we have the vision, the creativity, the passion, the imagination to create a beautiful state that will become the beacon of hope for the Black race. Let's not make a mistake about it. Nigeria is the only hope of the Black race. And there are world powers out there that really want Nigeria to return.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the idiots who are running our country right now are falling into that trap. Because once you tell them that you are helping them because of Islam, they will buy into it. Even if the message comes from Adolf Hitler, they will go into bed with him immediately.
Thank
This
you.
is where we find ourselves. Let us not give up. Let us try. If it doesn't work, God knows we would have done our best. We would have done our best for our country and for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Before I'm going to prepare Professor Okuagu ready for the question. I want to prepare you because I'm going to bring you in now. The Biafrans have been wanting to get out. Get out. Get out. Now, look at that. If we are going to really facilitate the future, may I appeal to anybody who is on mute to mute himself or herself. Professor Onukaobi, if you hold on a moment, I'm going to mute everybody first, then you can come back in because we have been disturbed So, Professor, you will need to unmute yourself. Can you hear me? I'm sure you can. Now, but the question is this. Mr. Michael Ojo, I will come to you. Biafrans have been wanting to go for a long time, and many of them have died over this matter. If we are going to find a way forward, that wife called Biafra has been wanting divorce for a long time. And can you justify why we should still expect them to remain in this relationship? Over to you, Dr. Nukwab.
Yeah, you see, the Biafran concept or the Biafran ideology is what we should address, not necessarily the Biafran nation.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this: Biafra is an ideology in which we try to express fairness to all, respect for constitutional authority, sanctity of the human life, and respect for the constitution of the land. It is not necessary that Biafra, we the Igbos should separate and go out of Nigeria. No, we want fair play. We want to be recognized as human beings. We want our children to have the right to grow and be what they want to be. So the ideology is what we are stressing, not necessarily going out of Nigeria, unless we are pressed, like as it happened in the time of Hitler, when there's another pogrom directed to us, when there's another genocide, then we will have no option than to fight for self-defense. Otherwise, what is important for us now is the ideology, fair play, goodness, allow us worship God the way we want to worship God, allow us develop our resources, allow us be the human being God has created us. That is what we are trying to say. Not necessarily that we want to go out of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So let me go straight on to Michael Ojo. Thank you very much, Professor. Michael Ojo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moderator. I'm honored to be in this group because I've listened to Professor Salako, Obadiah Malaifa, and all of others. But one thing I want to stress is this: either structures or we go separately. I'm really disturbed. Disturbed in the sense that I had a question said, are the people deaf? You ask that question. Are they deaf or what is the problem? They are not deaf. They are plain deaf. They don't care. They don't care. And you know what happens? Whatever system we have in place, whatever structure we have in place, it is the people that will execute it that will make it work. Nothing is working in Nigeria because people believe they can just do what they like. And that's what is happening. It is not just this government alone. It has started after the Awolowo regime. And that's what has been happening all along the line. Now the corruption is so much. Let me say that I was a very hard supporter of Buhari when he wanted to come in because I was so happy about what he did with Tidiagba. But when he came, if you'd ask me now, I would tell you I'm grossly disappointed. Grossly. Because he's rewarding corruption instead of fighting it. And then again, look at the security issue in Nigeria. I asked myself, if we break into pieces, if we go to Yoruba, we go to Biafra, we go to anywhere, who are the people going to manage these people? Are they coming from heaven? Are they alien? They are going to be the old Nigerians, and we are carrying the same thing to the place. If we are not disciplined, if we are not matured, if we are not ready to be sensitive to the feeling of the downtrodden, then we are going to go into the same thing again. I just want to be practical. I know that we have so many theories we can apply. We have so many systems. We have tried parliamentary, we tried presidential, we borrow presidential, and yet we are not disciplined enough to use what those people who have presidential system use to maintain it. We only took the large government aspects. Can you imagine National Assembly? Can you imagine the National Assembly, what they are earning, and you think they will ever agree that Nigerian go separately? No, they want us to continue.
Please, I'm going to have to stop you there.
Okay.
I needed you to give evidence. You said the most important thing, which is Nigeria isn't working.
It's not working. It's not working. That's right. Exactly. Okay. That's the key thing.
Please, just mute yourself again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate for you giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go straight on to, let's see, somebody. Oh, Dr. Awofolaju is back. Let's hope you can use your system to contribute. Dr. Awofolaju, where are you? Please, are you there? Unmute yourself. Dr. Awofolaju, are you there? Whilst waiting for Dr. Awofolaju, I'm going to say, Dr. Fakowunda, please be prepared to respond. You've heard so much today. I think the evidence I've received doesn't seem to really be in favor of either restructuring or 1963 Constitution. The evidence I have received suggests, yes, let's try what can work. My question is, what is it that we can try, which will work? When the big issue for me is, has the relationships between all the different parts of Nigeria broken down irretrievably, especially with this unfortunate neglect by the current government to respond to I cannot believe slaughtering of human beings like goats. Sometimes I wonder where the videos are coming from. Slaughtering, cutting people's neck off. No state of emergency declared. No state of emergency. Necks cut off. Intestines removed. Sometimes I wonder where all these videos are coming from. And that is why I asked the question. But thank you, Dr. Malaifa, for answering that pertinent question for me. They are playing deaf. So let me go again, as I said, to Dr. Awofolaju. Do you want to try again? Dr. Awofolaju, do you want to try again? Let me wait for a minute and see if you can come through. Hello, Dr. Awofolaju, are you there? Hello? You raised your hand? Okay. Now, I'm going to go straight now for the final thoughts on this matter of today. I'm going to go to Dr. Fakbomuda. Now, Dr. Fakbomuda, what's your response to all that you heard today?
Thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. I'm wearing several caps. The one that is on today is for the Eminent Elders Forum. I have to represent them. I don't have to take my own other very soft view or very hard view. I don't need to do that. I represented what the group decided. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 points to respond to what others are saying. We are going to remain land neighbors forever. Not that you are going to break apart and then move to Atlantic Ocean or move to a Pacific. We are going to remain land neighbors. That's one thing we have to agree. Even if you are occupying separate countries, we are living next to Benin Republic. We are living next to Niger. So if Yoruba land becomes a republic, we are still neighbors to the Edos in Benin. We are neighbors to the Nupes up north. So we must have an agreement to live together. So when the paper that Professor Alako talked about, we are going to live together now. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't just break off the land and go to the Atlantic Ocean, not talking to anybody again. That's the meaning of that answer. We have to remain, it's just natural, nothing we can do about it. Number 2, self-determination. The smallest unit should be allowed to determine what he or she wants, whether you are a thief or you are a domer. There are countries in the world, Iceland is just 500,000 people. So self-determination is a right of everybody. That's number 2. Number 3, agreement, understanding is the most important thing, not the label of the agreement, whether confederal or federal or whatever. We must, even Nigeria must have an agreement with Benin Republic because of smuggling, even though we are separate countries. So the idea of 1963 Constitution, I've explained it, is for us to start discussing and then plus or minus until everybody is satisfied with the result. Not that we are putting city constitution as a gun on everybody's head. Nothing is a silver bullet in nature that you can say once you do it, 100% is solved. No. But we are saying, where can you start from to engage? That's what the elders.
On that note, that is where I must ask you to conclude.
The last point. Look, all the things we are talking about, we are not talking about development. We are not talking about water supply, no schools. Let's finish this political talk and go to discussing how to develop with the rest of humanity. If you don't solve this problem quickly, we are so fanciful, so emotional about the form, the title, the whatever it is. People are graduating, they are leaving school, they are not getting jobs to do. We are not talking about that. The cities are becoming decayed. People are selling meat in their hand in the streets. That's the issue. We can't have time in the world to be talking about an elegant constitution forever. No time.
Thank
6
you.
months is all we have. 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Fakunda. Let me add one bit you have forgotten. You haven't mentioned the high level of migration into Europe by the citizens of Nigeria. That's massive concern. Now, let me go straight on to Professor Salako. I have gone through the panel. I've heard, let me stop for a moment. Dr. Malalaifa, do you have any final thoughts on the matter for today? Professor, any final thoughts before I bring in Professor Salako? And then Liberty Media Communication, Mr. Frank Bello, I'd like you to keep the preambles short. I want you to please go straight on to what we are getting from the viewers all over the world. So, Dr. Malaifa, any additional thoughts before I bring this to a close? Are you there? No, I don't think he's there. Professor Onukwagu, are you there? Any final thoughts? No. Okay. So let me go straight then to Professor. Do you want to say something? No. Okay. Let me go straight on to Professor.
Can you hear me now? This is Dr. Ofolaji.
Oh, welcome! I'm so pleased.
I'm so sorry. I've been moving around. I don't know. I'm in another spot now.
Thank you.
You are most welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. My name is Akin Ofolaji. I'm the president of Yoruba Action Council here in the United States. In my previous life, I worked in IMF in Asia, Singapore for 5 years as a company representative before I came to the United States. And I want to say this has been a very great deliberation today. Coming from Dr. Fakunda, we've known each other for quite a while now. And we actually had a little bit disagreement, but I did agree with everything he said today. If you look at 1963 Constitution, it's the most effective Constitution we ever had because it was borrowed from the Westminster system. And ever since, every other Constitution we have in Nigeria is just a paper trash. And I apologize for that language, but I will break it down. The situation in Nigeria today, we are at the crossroads, and we have to be honest to ourselves. In a country where we have people of intellectual rights, they don't have the opportunity. They don't have I remember in the 80s, some of us came back to Nigeria, we want to start, and there's no room for us. We have to go back. And I'm talking about many, many, many. Now, our own organization, we have Harvard professors, all the Ivy League. We've been trying to talk to United Nations as to, it doesn't have to be going to war to separate what is not good about Nigeria. We can use diplomacy. But if we say it's God-given right, God never made mistake. Think about a child being born 50 years ago to a system that's so corrupt. It doesn't know anything otherwise. And a 50-year-old man is already a grown man. So when you keep saying we have to always kick the can down the road to see whether something's going to patch, I disagree with that. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants to separate. Even with the presidential system that we adopted from US, you can see that it doesn't. We didn't follow it. US is United States of America. Every state in the United States, they are very independent. The police, there's state police in the United States. There's federal police, but state police has its own jurisdiction. So we shouldn't continue deceiving ourselves. We can come to the round table and discuss the way out. Or if you want to remain together, it has to be on meritocracy. You see, a professor has no opportunity to give his God-given talent. It's so sad. And speaking of talking, yes.
Dr. Ufalaju, let me interrupt you. I was really hoping you would be able to speak because you are in the country where there's the American presidential system. I am in a Westminster parliamentary system. Let me tell you what worries me. Maybe that's the way it works in America. The governors of Nigeria, they don't answer anybody.
Yep.
The governors, hold on. Average Nigerian don't have their phone number. Every Nigerian don't have their email address. Let me tell you an experience I had. I successfully tracked down a very important female whose name I shall not mention. Please, you are a female. Come and speak to us. After agreeing, she then said, let's have a chat or let's have a video call so I can look at your face before I accept the invitation. I said, look, this is going to be a Zoom affair. If you don't like what's going on, you can say it off. My question is this. You have American presidential system, as I said. All these commissioners in Nigeria, give them a ring, come and speak. They won't talk. All these governor, this governor, that governor, that. The only person I know that I've ever, maybe he's no longer, because he's no longer, there's Otumba Daniel. All these other governors, even those who have stepped out of government, I have to give credit to former Governor Oshoba. In United States, are your governors not accessible? Please.
Yeah.
Are you able to, if you want to communicate with your governors, do you have email address? Do you have a number for them? How does it work? Because we have a parliamentary system. I served for 16 years and everything about me was public. So I have a problem with the way these politicians in Nigeria are behaving. So tell me, why isn't it working in Nigeria?
It's not going to work because everybody are for themselves. And one of the advantages of being disorganized is that one is always having surprising discovery. There's no right way now that we can put things, whether we say we want to go on the restructuring. And as many people have alluded to earlier, we have a lot of, up to 3 national conferences. And there was a communique. I remember in 2010, about 45 from the United States went to National Assembly with, I think, Senator Kremadu was the chairman for the amendment. We presented on the floor, and we gave them 45 reasons or something they could include in the Constitution. They only took maybe 1 or 2. And we spent our time and money to make sure that thing was done. So it's not about the lack of any idea. It's just like somebody has already alluded, just those individuals. Even when you go to restructuring or self-government, it's still going to be the people that you're going to deal with. So I just mentioned earlier that somebody born like 50, 60 years ago, those are pre-independence. They haven't seen anything different from corruption and all those illicit things that we're doing. They think it's a way of life. And that's where the problem is. So we need to reorientate, we need to retool ourselves, our youth, everybody. It doesn't, and this goes across every ethnicity. It's not just my sister from Benue State.
Forgive me, I'm going to mute everybody because there are intruders still, people who are not used to coming onto Zoom. They are still intruding in the background with their children.
Yeah, it's so sad. Yeah, so sometimes we see what we want to see, but we see connection where it's only coincidence. And there's element of...
Doctor, please unmute yourself again because I've had to mute you. Unmute again. You need to unmute yourself now. Thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Thank you. Please, I can hear you now. Thank you.
So as I was saying, one of the disadvantages of being disorganized is that one is always having surprising discovery. Nigeria, we've been seen as being big-headed, and sometimes this can be irritable, as dangerous as being small-minded. The issue with the country is not the idea only, because a lot of Nigerians have been going through psychological warfare, and they don't believe in that system anymore. So, for instance, I mean, we
Dr.
can...
Ofolaju, let me interrupt you again. I think the point I want to make with you, especially because you are in an American presidential based system of government, is that the politicians I know in Nigeria, look at when they had SARS. Now, when the protesters wanted to protest, they went to destroy buildings. They left the houses of the governor. They didn't go there. The governors, who they voted for. I don't understand. Now, they destroy properties. Now, at the end of the day, this idea of the politicians not engaging those who have voted them in, I don't understand it. So I'm raising that because I can't see what Dr. Fakboda is proposing or somebody else is talking about engaging. If you will not see Governor Seyi Makinde, yes, in the marketplace without his big car, doing his shopping, and if you want to see him, let me give you an example. I received information about a possible project. I said to those in your state, go to see Governor Seyi Makinde. They said even the secretary won't let you through.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dr. Malavia, look, anybody who wants Nigeria to work, where you have governors who are gods, I can assure you, God did not make them gods. That is the bottom line in that country. If those governors are not going to be put out to be talking to ordinary people, and their phone numbers not available, and their email addresses not available, and they are behaving like gods, I don't think God gave us that kind of government in Nigeria. I don't think so.
That's very true. The Constitution...
Absolute power corrupt absolutely. When you look at our Constitution, the way it positions the presidential power we have in Nigeria, the same thing with the state governor. They have absolute power. It's not like that in the United States. You all see what is going on with the Trump exit from the White House. Just wait for another 6 months. You will see how they're going to really go deeper into all his involvement when he was in power. That is a presidential system. But in Nigeria, we don't see it that way. There's absence of evidence. And it's not evidence of absence. We have
Can I stop you there? One thing I'm worried about Nigeria, they want to break up. They are in debt to China. I read minutes of some House of Assembly. They are borrowing billions. In Nigeria, we have free trade zones. Many you want to break up. Many. Over to you, please, Dr. Ofolaju. Just a moment. Let me please go ahead, Dr. Malavia.
Oh, thank you. On this borrowing, this is one thing I have been very disturbed about. And as a banker and finance expert, I can't sit here and say don't borrow. But a new phenomenon that we are seeing is going to borrow from the Chinese at commercial rate, pledging some of our oil fields actually as collateral, and even pledging our sovereignty, as the Minister of Transport actually revealed, and then using that money to build a railway to Zinder in Niger. Honestly speaking, to me, it is treasonable. If it were grants, maybe, but a loan you incurred in commercial terms. And one story that is going around is that they are actually, the National Assembly approved that they can borrow 27 billion from Russia, from China. an additional 27 billion. I hear they are gathering this money to go and stash it away in Arewa so that in the event of even a breakup, under the international law of succession, yes, when there's a collapsed state and there are successor states emerging, under international law, what they do is that the assets and liabilities will be shared equally. And the liabilities this time, the loans, will now be shared. So whether Odua likes it or not, you end up paying Chinese loans that you never knew anything about.
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt?
And then, yes.
You were deputy governor of Central Bank. Now, all these free trade zones.
Yes.
I was on ground. I think I trooped Yoruba land. All these free trade zones. That's one. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you. We want to break. We want to break. Let me ask you, because you belong to the country, all the debts that Nigeria have now, Britain was party to redeeming debt. Now they got huge. Can you break up with all this debt you owe? Is it possible?
They're trying to rope you in by saying, look, they are gathering this money and they're either stealing it or using it for something else or even piling it. So that even when you break up, you will be poor and penniless, but they would have amassed a war chest in your name, by the way, in your name. They will now use it now to develop their part, and then we have to pay equally for the liabilities. And it's a very dangerous strategy. In fact, I was part of a conference 3 years ago where they held an international conference on Lake Chad, and I was one of the experts brought in. And what the government was proposing to do was to borrow about $15 billion to build a canal from the Congo River right through Central African Ubangishari River up to Lake Chad, so that in the end, Arewa or the North will not be landlocked. The other strategy is also to make Lagos an international territory like Hong Kong or something like that, so that they can enter into a separate agreement. All this Ibadan-Kano Railway is all part of that. The Dangote, he has taken all over Epe and all of that. It's all part of that strategy. So that even if you have your Dudua, Eko will not be part of it. Lagos will not be part of it. It will be an international territory. And some of your leaders are prepared to sell out Eko to them for that purpose. So anyway, when you people are ready to separate, let us know so that some of us will.
If I may quickly jump in.
Dr. Awolaju, I'm not going to let you go because you are the only American here now. And as a British, I blame American presidential system for messing up our Westminster parliamentary system. Now, whether people are happy about that, I don't know, but tell me, in your opinion, we've heard that we are so intertwined now. We just want peace. We just want a country where poverty is minimized. Do you see the environment in Nigeria facilitating that under the current American presidential system of government?
Personally, I don't really think we need to adopt American presidential system. We need to look at a system that fits into our way of life in terms of that will carry along the downtrodden. We are talking about the layer of over 3 decades graduating from university and they can't get a job. And we are fast-growing economy in terms of maybe human resources and population-wise. By the year 2050, Nigeria will be over 440 million, according to the United Nations fact. So when we think in the 2050, the population will now go exponential to that level, there is no plan for it. And the youth in the country, they are over 65% of the population, and there's no plan for it. So we have to start rethinking as to what is the best solution. I want to allude to what Dr. Malevi said. No, the friend I was talking about was a close friend of mine who was a deputy
Somebody,
governor.
can you just stop a moment, please? Whoever
Yeah,
is in the background talking, please, I'm going to
just
mute everybody now because somebody is talking in the background. You may unmute yourself now, Dr. Ofolaju. Thank you. Thank you.
all right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
So the problem has been very essential to the point that there's no one simple idea that will fix Nigerian problem. The idea of even self-government is now something that every liberal mind wants for Nigeria. But think about Soviet Union or Czechoslovakia. They came to the round table and they agree as to how the way to go forward. There's nothing wrong with that at this point. Because when you see a lot of intellectuals...
Can I stop you there, Doctor? Yes. That's a point I want to bring in, because that seems to be a consensus that, yes, let's try again. Let's try again. Whatever is going to happen, let's try coming to the round table. Over to you, Professor Salako. Round the table, is that achievable? How can that be achieved? Professor, round the table to find a way forward. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. I have muted everybody. Professor Salako,
yes.
round the table.
Yes, the way I see it, as Awolowo rightly stated, is that Nigeria is not a nation. It's a geographical expression. And the way I see the union now is like a marriage that has irretrievably broken down. And I don't think it can be resuscitated in any way. We'll be deceiving ourselves if we feel that we can come around the table. That is number one. And number two, we shouldn't be deterred by this idea of the North creating a war chest. Lagos will become like Hong Kong. It will not be like that. My mother is an indigen of Lagos. She's 99 now. Let me speak in Yoruba. Eko arodede maja, Eko aromisa legbe. There is nobody who will turn Lagos to Hong Kong. I promise you that. I'm partly Lagos, I'm partly Jai, Abekuta myself. Nobody will turn. Forget about, nobody will. Now, let me round up by stating that restructuring will not work. And we cannot consider these matters without looking at the past. I think it was Carl Santana who said, if you forget the past, you are likely to repeat it. And I think the main issue is internal self-determination. The nations within Nigeria, the Hausa, Fulani, the Igbo, the Yoruba, have the right to exercise their internal right of self-determination under international law to live if they want. Czechoslovakia was partitioned. South Sudan held a referendum supervised by the United Nations. Over 90% voted for secession, and they left. And in Yugoslavia, there are quite a lot of new states.
We've got an example. Thank you very much indeed, Samuel, Professor, that's it, get it right, Professor Solomon Salako, thank you very much indeed. Let me go straight on to Frank Bello of Liberty Media Communications. Over to you. What are we getting on ground?
Okay, now I have unmute myself, Irelu, thank you very much. The stream has been on fire all day, obviously due to the nature of the topic of this course. Now, let me take it from the bottom. I'm not going to go through any others. Moji Adesonya, and I'll be posting this. It's been on fire. Moji Adesonya said self-determination is what we vote for, not restructuring. And I think this has been based on Professor Salako's statement on the issue of Lagos. Suleiman Yusufu said, thanks, sir. Now, Narada Franklin, who is watching, I know him very well, is watching from Moscow. Madam Irelu Tuashe, what is your stance? Federalism, question mark, restructuring, question mark, or dissolving Nigeria? Good question for you there. And here, we've got Moji Adesonya. Self-determination is what we vote for, not restructuring. And okay, I think I've taken that. Esther Adetun Ewetruga, JP, I know her very well. She's a lawyer, and she's been listening very attentively from the beginning of the stream. How long will we try again? We are fed up. We need to break up. And she's been commenting, she's been saying that. I think Dr. Obadiah had a thank you from Esther again. Good talk from Obadiah. We've got loads. The president is from Niger Republic by Bamba Kevin, and Sylvanus Sly. I think Sylvanus is watching somewhere from Europe as well. Said it's sad. Even God can be assessed. We pray to God, he listens. So who are the politicians and leaders that are not accessible? Means they believe they are higher than God. Shame on all deaf elders and politicians that has put us where we are today. That's from Sylvanus. And here, let me take this once again because the comment keep flying in. And let me take, I'm trying to move up a bit. The day I left Nigeria by Adenike Fagbemi, the day I left Nigeria, I left with tears because I believe if not the country I found myself, no need for me searching for greener pasture. Nigeria is not working and can never work. Politics in Nigeria is a business to enrich themselves, not the people. Loads of comment, and I think because we're running out of time, if you want to view this show, guys, at some point in time, you can log in onto Liberty Media, facebook.com/LibertyMedia.com or Hello Magazine. So I'll hand over the microphone back to you, Irelu, because we are out of time. The comments still keep rolling in, I can honestly tell you. This one, Akin Yemi said, the best thing is to divide, from Akin Yemi, and here we are. Richard Olaiton Yoruba are fed up. We need to break up from the so-called Nigeria. Let's stand strong to move Yoruba nation forward. They keep coming in here. I'm taking them from the bottom as they're flying in. I think the solution is to go our separate ways. As 1963 Constitution was written for us as a people, so it's not going to work anymore. Here we are, Arishekola. I don't really know where Arishekola Oyekon is watching. Freedom must come by the ballot or bullet. Let Olodumare will be done. All what we want is Ududua nation now. And again, at the bottom, Esther Adetun Ewetruga, JP, the lawyer in London, and who is equally a health professional now, said Yoruba nation now. And Irelu, over to you. Yes, Irelu, maybe if you can hear me, I'm going to hand over the microphone back to you.
You are muted.
Oops, thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Liberty Media Communications, thank you very much indeed. Mr. Bello, thank you. And to the viewers who have sent in their comments, it's wonderful to have clear messages from you. May I repeat my telephone numbers? You can only reach me by WhatsApp. It will be much more effective if you forward your messages to me as I collate them. The number is +44 7405 365 994. My PA will be dealing with all of that. If you don't have the number, please go back to your login sheet. The number is there. Let me say it's been quite a session, and the success of this session must go to those who have been in the hot seats. Thank you for coming to the courts of Agbakunitoni Odua, the meaning. May elders never cease to exist in the land of Odua. Dr. Akin Fakumuda, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much for the time you took to plan and structure it in a way that has done credit to anyone who dare say he or she belongs to the geographical area called Nigeria. Thank you. My regards and gratitude to all the members of the Eminent Elders Forum and Dr. Obada Mailafia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, here's the nationalist there. A lot of what you said, let me comment. Yes, Ifa, we call it in Yoruba land. Afa, it is called in Igbo land. I happen to be a priestess. So, I was so excited when you started talking about Ifa. Thank you for your contribution. And thank you for all you do. To do what? Exactly what this program believes in. Reducing, minimizing misunderstanding, keeping away conflict in order for us to be able to achieve cohesion. You know, one thing, a lot of us have offended each other. I always talk about forgiveness. A lot has happened between the communities. And as I said, 1 man, 4 wives. Or is it 1 man, 385 wives? That's the situation Nigeria is in. It's going to be very difficult for the divorce to begin to materialize. But if Nigeria, who happens to have about 384 tribes, 284 wives, will do justice round the table, it must be. Professor, the Professor Onukwagu, it was really wonderful to hear you share honestly and frankly the Biafran position. I found that illuminating. Thank you for the time and thank you for the effort. So on that note, I dare not say to those of you who are in the studio, in the Zoom area, the members of the jury, those of you who have not been able to have the opportunity to share your thoughts. First of all, thank you for being here. Thank you very, very much from different parts of the world. Thank you. Dr. Awufolaju, thank you for putting extra effort. As I think it proves that eventually one may succeed. Thank you for your effort to be able to share the American perspective with me. For somebody will say, Madam Merelu, where are you? I am an English stateswoman. Please recall that. So therefore, mine is to facilitate the future for Nigeria. I repeat, I am a stateswoman of England. Yes, I'm a Lutuasha for the Remo. So where I want Nigeria to go is irrelevant. Do you know I don't even have a right to vote? I do not have a right to vote. So just remind yourself of that. Many of us in the diaspora do not have a right to vote. So please, where is that taking me? And why should what I think be of interest to those who are out there other than in the usual, typical English way? Let's facilitate understanding. Let's get away from war. Let's go to joy. Because at the end of the day, joy, it must be if we are going to find peaceful resolution and end the massacre that I have seen. On that note, before we come to the end of this program, permit me to suggest just 20 seconds of silence in memory of all those who have been killed. Not just the last few months, a very long time. So we're just going to be quiet for 20 seconds. And Dr. Malaifa, you'll be able to come in when the 20 seconds is over to say, on behalf of Nigeria, few words in memory of those who have been taken away innocently and unjustly. 20 seconds from now.
Well, we remember the thousands of souls who have perished. We remember the holy martyrs, children, women, the elderly, youths. Many who are nameless in the villages, in the towns, on the highways, massacred, brutalized, raped. We remember them all. God, give us the courage to change the things that we can change. Give us the patience to accept the things that we cannot change. And give us the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. We come to the end of today. Thank you very much, Professor Solomon Salako, for joining me time and time again to provide legal angle to our deliberations. To my viewers out there, it's time to say thank you for joining me and best wishes to you in every way, in all things that you undertake from now on. Amen. I am Irilu Tuwashe. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, Dr. Baba. Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Everybody.
everyone.
The Lord
Good
bless
night,
you.
man of my life
Let's keep hope alive. Let's keep hope alive.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes.
Never give up.
Yes.
So
Never give
it's
up.
time to say